Good afternoon. I've been asked to talk to you for 10 minutes on the theme of adoption, which is a theme that's been mentioned a number of times during the day today. Now, 10 minutes is going to be a challenge for me, for anybody that's heard me speak before, so I will try and keep this succinct, but please feel free to come up and have a conversation with me later on if anything I say interests you particularly. Now, the challenge of adoption is one that I've been working with clients on for a long time. In fact, the very first job I was asked to do when I joined the company well over 20 years ago was to go into an organization using our knowledge product to try and understand why they weren't getting the usage that they had expected. Now, the challenge of adoption that I'm going to be talking about is predominantly related to our knowledge management suite and knowledge adoption. Simply because some of the other products, like the Advisor desktop, ultimately with chat and email, although there might be challenges in terms of getting people to use it effectively, if that's the core tool they have to use to do their job, then clearly usage is going to be less of an issue. So, a knowledge management solution is perceived differently. And I'm going to start by asking for a show of hands, which could be tricky because I can't see very much of the audience from here. How many of you know that there are sources of information in your own organizations that would help you do your job that are useful, but that you either rarely or never use? And I'm going to start by admitting, yeah, I thought so, most of us. So let's start by considering some of the reasons why we don't use those systems and understand that the pressures on a contact center agent when they've got demands from the customer, when they've got targets to meet, are going to make that even stronger. So the first one is that I know the answer. I've been asked that question multiple times beforehand. I've been giving the same answer for the last 5 years. So basically, categorically, if somebody asks me the question, I'm just going to tell them. Now, we all know potentially that the answer has changed. It may not be accurate, but ultimately, it gets somebody off my back really quickly to just provide the same answer. The next one is about how I perceive myself. So I am an expert within eGain, within the field of knowledge, which is why I'm standing here and talking to you now. But that means that it's quite difficult sometimes for me to admit maybe I don't know something, or maybe my knowledge, I haven't kept it quite up to date as much as I might, I think I should have done in a particular area, or to be seen looking up stuff when I've got maybe, a new graduate trainee sitting next to me. So that's really about emotion and how I perceive myself and how I perceive how I should interact with systems that we have. The next one is about time. It's kind of, I think I know the answer. There's that nagging doubt that I'm not quite sure, and I know that the answer I'm providing is maybe not, complete, but I'm in a rush. And if I provide a half answer now, by the time it comes back tomorrow, then hopefully I'll be less busy. So in other words, it's getting somebody off my back faster. The next one is, and despite the fact that eGain sells knowledge management and we're a relatively small company, like most of us, we have a proliferation of information sources. We're not our best customer. So it's knowing where to go and look for that information as well. So if it's confusing or difficult, sometimes we'll find other ways of doing it, or again, we'll just provide that kind of a part answer. The other one, particularly that we see in contact centers, but it's equally valid, I think, myself as well, is that if I've got a number of things open on my kind of laptop, just going and finding another system, if you like, or working out to go and use something else, there's kind of a bit of a barrier there. I've just got a kind of busy screen. I'll just kind of find an answer somehow and send it off rather than kind of going and opening up another application. And sometimes it might be that I know the information is in that new system I was shown a couple of months ago, but I've forgotten what the password is. They haven't got around to, having single sign-on yet. I know that I forgot my password. It's just going to be a bit of a pain to go and kind of get it all reset. So again, it's a barrier to me going and doing it. And then the other one is the easy one. John, who sits at the desk next to me, is likely to know, and if he doesn't, there's always kind of, Anna that I can Skype, and she always knows the answer. So I'll simply go and ask somebody else for that information. Now, that's 7 reasons to start off with, and I'm sure there are probably lots of others. But the thing about this is that they are about behavior and perception and emotion. None of these is really about whether or not that system, that knowledge management solution, has the right information, how much I trust it. It's simply the way that I kind of interact or whether I choose to use that or not. Now, changing people's behavior is hard. whilst it's hard, it's absolutely critically important if you are going to get the value out of that investment you've made in knowledge. We can create all kinds of benefits models for you. You know, your business case is going to have been based on the fact you're going to reduce your first contact resolution by 5%. Maybe you're going to increase your customer satisfaction scores by 20 points. Maybe you're going to just reduce the number of kind of repeat contacts or average handling time. All of those things give you a tangible benefit, but only if your agents are going to use that solution. So therefore, driving your usage up and driving adoption is a critical component of any knowledge management program. So I can hear you asking, basically, if I've been doing this for 20 years, why am I not standing up here and giving you an answer? So a metaphor I'm going to use is a river that looks something like this. Now, it's kind of not taking the most direct or the fastest route down to the sea, its goal. What it's doing is kind of meandering around kind of obstacles, but what it is doing is taking the path of least resistance. And this is kind of how I like to think about people interacting with solutions, and particularly interacting with knowledge management. And it's rather like human behavior, especially behavior under pressure. We stick to the kind of familiar routines and find kind of ways of doing things that suit us. And because it's what we know, but also because we understand what the outcomes are going to be through following that path as well. It's safe, it's understood. And small changes to our environment, introducing kind of maybe, a small kind of application, introducing, a different way of doing things, a new process, will kind of incorporate into that way of doing things, but just by adapting our behavior slightly. It's major changes that cause the challenge. So major change kind of feels, we don't know necessarily what the outcomes are going to be. We feel uncomfortable with it. And they require a change of mindset. So in the same way that every river follows, a slightly different path, every organization has a number of kind of different sort of pressures on it. It has a kind of different culture, different behaviors, different challenges, and they're all operating in an environment that's changing all the time. And it's all of these different factors are the reason why I can't stand here and give you a blueprint for your organization to say, if you follow this, your agents will adopt the solution and they'll use it. But what I can do is to share with you some of the things that we see that contribute towards helping adoption. The main lesson through this, though, is that this is not a one-off. This is something that you need to build into your transformation plan. It needs to be good old-fashioned change management, and it needs then to be a continuous program. It's not something that you can do once or twice and then walk away and leave it. So some of the things to think about. It's been mentioned already during the day, design. So basically designing for a great user experience. Now, this alone is not going to solve those problems. You can have the best system in the world, but for all the reasons I outlined, the users may still not choose to use that regularly to deliver the business value that you're expecting. However, if you don't do that, you're giving them an additional reason not to use it. If they use it the first time and they don't like it, then you're not going to generate any kind of excitement. You're not going to get past the first hurdle. The next one is around personalization, by which I mean make the system relevant to them. Make sure that the group of users or different groups of users get to see content that's relevant to them when they go in. Make sure that they feel like it's their system, that they can contribute, that you're actioning their feedback, and that you're garnering their buy-in simply by kind of helping them understand that it's a solution to meet their needs, not just another application that's been put on their desktops by the business. Integration. You heard from Comcast the importance of integrating any solution in with the agent desktop and the agent environment. So make it effortless for them. And you've seen some of the other ways that we're utilizing knowledge on the advisor desktop or through kind of virtual assistant. So rather than the agent having to go and find knowledge in order to solve the customer's problem, we're delivering relevant content to them on the desktop to make it easy to use. And that helps overcome quite a significant barrier. So simplification. We talked also about one of the difficulties of choice. So try and reduce confusing choices. Now, that's difficult for many organizations when you're introducing knowledge management because you are generally doing it in an iterative way. You're maybe taking some sets of content and bringing it across, but you maybe still have information in legacy systems. So consider whether or not you can utilize that kind of one knowledge interface to access other kind of legacy systems temporarily, whether you can federate the content or maybe bring it into the system so they only have one place to look. Because by reducing the choice, you're taking away the option that they're going to choose not to use the new system that you're introducing. Motivation. This is, I guess, again, where kind of change management comes in. You've got to provide a good reason for them to use that. They've got to understand that it's going to make their job easier, that it's going to help them achieve their targets and goals. And as part of that, you really need to make sure that whatever that motivation is, it's completely aligned with whatever the contact centre goals and targets are. An example is an organisation I've been working with recently that we're really struggling to drive up adoption. Not only do they have about 12 applications open on the desktop, and that's a single monitor, by the way, so therefore introducing one more standalone application really isn't cutting it. But also we discovered that the agents are still targeted on average handling time, and they're not penalised for transferring calls. So as you can understand, if they get an answer or get a question from a customer that they can't answer off the top of their heads or easily, then they simply transfer the call to somebody else. So therefore, there's no motivation for them to use the knowledge system. And the last one, good old-fashioned communication. Keep communicating. Before you implement the solution, then get them excited. You know, start to kind of communicate why it's coming in, what it's going to do for them. Start to get some people kind of testing the system and taking back that information, you know, to their teams. Inform them about why you're doing it. Inform them about what it's going to do for the business, how important their role is in that, and keep reinforcing that message and keep repeating that message. So I think I've actually managed to achieve that in slightly less than 10 minutes. It was difficult to tell because it said 6 when I started and now it's on 1, and I'm sure I've been talking for longer than 5 minutes. But thank you very much, everybody. And the last thing I would like to say, though, is that this is not me saying this is something that you need to do. You know, clearly we as an organisation have got a lot of experience of working with other companies in terms of trying to help them overcome the barriers and help them, you know, move that adoption needle. And it's in our interest to make sure that you get value out of our products as much as you need to drive that value and demonstrate business benefit. So if you need any assistance for this, then please feel free to contact us at eGain and ask for our help and our guidance, and we'll be more than willing to share our experience with you. Thank you very much.